Okay, so let's dissect this plan a bit. So you saw on the other example on the prior page that we have a section in the bottom right around questions this plan addresses. And I mentioned that this is an opportunity for us to really lay out those things that I just don't know. I still don't know if I have the right network. Do I have what it takes? Questions that you should be able to be honest with yourself about. You just don't know, and that you could actually use to um, talk to an influencer or talk to someone else about doing prototyping to maybe get some more clarity around. This is the section to do that. And I wanted to give you some help in figuring out what those questions should look like. So here are some tips around asking good questions. So, what are you still unsure about and need to explore? Ask two or three questions that test your assumptions. Do I have what it takes? Is my idea good enough? Where will I get money? So, some of the challenges that we face is that we don't test our assumptions. We believe that we can get something done, or we believe that the idea is great, but we didn't test it. We didn't talk to a potential user. We didn't talk to someone who has gone down this road before to get their feedback on whether the idea was good or not. And so we never test our assumptions. And that is why so many of us fail at things, because we didn't take the time to test our assumptions. So I want you to keep those things in mind. Your plan is going to look entirely different from someone else's, but I wanted to put a pin in this and give you that thought, because I want you to be realistic about what your plan looks like and whether it is something that can be done and not be unrealistic, right? This is how you find out. It's all about the questioning, right? The next set of questions are foundational. When I say foundational, these are the things that you should be asking yourself so that you can move the needle on the dashboards, right? So I showed you the little dashboards before. We'll look at them a bit more in the next few slides. But when I ask some of those questions around, do I like it? Am I confident? Ask questions that help you test your understanding of the alternatives, right? Where will you live? Where's the location of the opportunity? What experience is needed, right? So, you guys, the left brain in me, this is where the left brain started to rear its ugly head, if I should say it that way. Forgive all of the colloquialisms and whatever, but this is me being real and me being me. But this is where my left brain kicked in. A lot of the design thinking process is very right brain, very creative, and I didn't want to sell people what some might think is a pipe dream. Oh my goodness, let's get everyone excited about what could be, and let's get excited about creating this and that, and it's all fluff. I know how people think, especially people like me who are on the more analytical side, right? We can be a bit skeptical. And so I wanted you to stop and take the time to do some of the more foundational, realistic thinking. This is me grounding you. This is me not pouring salt on your, wounds, or this is not me deflating your balloons. This is not me, trying to drag you down to earth and you know, raining on your parade. But this is definitely me asking you to ask some hard questions of yourself. Whatever the plan is, if you have a family, your family will be impacted. Do you have to move? Are you looking for a new job? If you're looking for a new job, will it offer you housing? Will you have to sell your house? Will you have to go without for a while? Will you have to do this, that, and the other, which are real questions? These are real questions. And if you don't ask the real questions, and you find yourselves happening upon a situation, you will re- resent. That's the right word. You will resent not doing that. And the people in your life will resent you for not doing that. It is better to ask all of the hard questions. It is better to get your family who is impacted by this in a room and allow them to ask all of the hard questions. And it is better to take the hard questions, take them away. Allow the ones that you can answer immediately, answer. The ones that you cannot, take them back. Leverage them when you are going into prototyping because they are a part of what's needed and what's necessary for your plan to be realistic and for your plan to work. Incorporate them into the plan. If moving is not an option, it needs to be. If being an entrepreneur is not an option, you absolutely have to have a 9 to 5 job. The security of that or assumed security of that is absolutely necessary if you have a family and you have to provide for them because you are the sole provider and you need to be able to provide for them. You have to take that into consideration. Okay. So it would be remiss if I did not mention that. Okay. That's the coach in me. That's me being honest. So I want you to ask the hard questions. And this is just a precursor to helping you to do that. The next area is a result of asking the hard questions. You know, originally you may have gone into this and you may have moved the needles on that dashboard that I mentioned earlier. You may have been hot, great, everything was awesome. And then I asked you to ask the hard questions. Where are you now? Where are you now? That was the point of adding this after. I want you to, after you've had the conversations with those impacted, what I would call stakeholders in the change management world, because I want you to be able to relate this in all areas of life, whether you become an entrepreneur or if you become an entrepreneur and you're just an employee somewhere, not just an employee. Let me rephrase the way I put that. If you choose to be an employee, I want you to be able to leverage this and understand how to use it in the corporate setting. And to do that, I want you to do the dashboard after you ask the hard questions and you allow the stakeholders impacted by your decisions to ask hard questions. And once you have the answers to those hard questions, then doing the dashboard becomes more realistic. Okay. And the point of that dashboard is really to help you understand how you feel about this alternative. And once you have a dashboard and you have a completed plan for all three of the alternatives, it becomes a bit more clear. Becomes a bit more clear which of the alternatives you would prefer going with. Okay, that's the point. So, keys to success. Let's talk about this. I want to reiterate you are designing the next chapter. You are not designing the rest of your life. Do not think past the next 5 years because if you try to do that, you are losing the concept of an iterative design thinking process. And you are losing the concept of continually refining and changing and being iterative and accepting that things will not stay stagnant long enough for you to do something for the rest of your life. It is a journey, it is not a destination. Okay. You will not have everything figured out at this stage. There are more stages because of that. You are here to write what you know into this plan. High level milestones that you can think of creating at this stage because you don't know everything and you have no way of knowing everything. Future stages like prototyping will give you more detail. So just accept you don't know everything. Draw images to help you stay creatively connected to the idea. So did you notice the scribble on it? I didn't want to go into detail. I purposefully skipped over the fact that these plans are not written in words, but yet in images. And the reason is because that's going to keep you creatively connected to the idea and inspiration. I don't want you writing out long, drawn out paragraphs about what you're going to do and bulleted points. I want you to be able to see at a glance what it is that you're going to do. Draw it out. Everyone can draw a stick figure. No one has to know what the stick figure means or what the image is, but you. It's for you to stay creatively connected to your idea because we tend to allow ourselves to make plans left brain activities, very analytical, very theory based, and we need to make them creative based. Things that we don't mind shifting and changing a drawing, right? Or putting a check mark or an X through something is a lot easier than erasing or deleting and starting over. Stay creatively connected. This is a creative process, okay? Keep the plan high level. The details will emerge as you go. I mentioned that earlier. You're going to have to go through the remaining stages to get to the rest of the detail. Create the plan with the thought of presenting in mind. So those images may mean everything to you, but until you can present them to me as a potential influencer, then it's all in your head. So create it with the thought of presenting it in mind. Be able to talk me through what year one looks like from an image. I'm going to get excited about that. I would rather see an image of your 5-year plan than a 50-page document that I have to read through. That's impactful. So create that image. Do that. I promise you, your influencers will appreciate it. All right. So, those are keys to success. Here's an image of what it looks like with all of those tidbits and tips included. And I wanted to have that in there for you as an example so that you can maybe print it out and put it on your whiteboard or put it on your desk somewhere. Keep it as a reference because it reminds you of all of the tips that I shared with you before. The first being that you are not designing the rest of your life. It is just the next 5 years and what comes next, right? We are designing the next chapter of your life, which is a 5-year span. Don't try to figure it out all at once. Keep in mind your personal goals. Do you see how they have asked key questions? In year one, does she want to have a family? She's asking that question. Year two, she wants to take a family vacation. She's keeping those personal goals in mind. And that's a good thing to keep in mind. And notice how it's not, just vacation or family or whatever. She's got personal goals like health related goals. She wants to hike 100 miles and do things that are around her personal health. So keep those things in mind. We are whole beings, right? But on the path to creating her opportunity, she's keeping high level things in mind as well. She's got images to demonstrate those high level goals. And she's prototyping her idea. She's thinking of all of the things that she's thinking about that she needs to do, finding co-founders and signing up personal trainer, and she wants to do a half marathon. She's got all of those things listed out here in images to keep her reminded. Certainly, prototype idea is going to have several other several other steps and things that she needs to do, but she's got the high level step there. Okay. All the way through the 5th year when she goes public. What a major milestone. So she's thinking about 5 years out, I want to go public. We've all learned that anything that you can create a goal for things that you can create milestones for when we're working towards something and it's not haphazard. And when it is intentional, we actually accomplish those things. So keep that in mind as well. Okay. So let's just recap this section and what we've learned in this section. So this is a major section. Since we have gone through, we've learned what the design thinking framework is and why it's important and how it helps us to reframe our ideas and what that mindset looks like. We've gone through and we've started the empathize section, which is so important to understanding who we are, our personality, our views, and how we use those to create a journal of our activities, right? So we've done both the interpersonal side where we understand our views, and then we've also done more of a tactical side where we understand the activities that we enjoy. We've leveraged those activities and we've leveraged that information from empathize to define what it is that we want to do. And we've done that by mind mapping, taking some of those activities that we really enjoyed and were energized by and created mind maps from them. And so those mind maps helped us to move into the ideate phase where we are now in designing alternative life plans. And so in this phase, we have committed to creating 3 alternative life plans, 3 5-year alternative life plans. And this section specifically helps us to dissect and look at what those life plans look like. Okay? So we've done quite a bit up until this point to help us design the next chapter of our lives. And if you only did the work to here, you at least have plans. Plans are just that. Plans help us to understand and document what it is that we would like to do and accomplish in our lives. But if we don't move from planning into execution, then plans are useless, right? And so the next phase in the next video, you'll see where we start to execute. And this is where things get very interesting because this is where we have to learn to pivot and shift and be flexible. Okay. So thank you for staying with me until this point. I'll give you a chance to digest this information and then I'll see you back in the next section, which is prototype, and we'll walk through how we actually engage influencers and the importance of influencers. Okay. So I'll see you there.